Good morning, everybody. This is Michael from Spades Consulting, and we are going to talk about silver. I had a video originally set up to go, and then within an hour, the situation changed. All right, there are reports coming out from people that they can't get their gold and silver delivered. All right, that the expected ship dates are continually being pushed back by all of the consumer level precious metals dealers. All right, this is APMEX, this is JM Bullion, this is all of the major brands and companies that you've heard recently. Now, right off the top of the bat, we got to cover the fact that these companies only hold a certain amount of inventory. All right, because you have to insure all of that inventory, especially with how high the prices have been going lately. Insurance covers you up to a certain point. Beyond that, you got to get rid of it. You either got to stash it, you either have to put additional coverage and additional policy to it. You've got to do something with it, or you got to sell it off. All right. So essentially, what's happening is all of these consumer dealers are going to their suppliers, and their suppliers are also running into difficulty getting actual supply. This is particularly pronounced with the silver market, less so with the gold. All right. Essentially, what's happening is the silver market is actually breaking. It's not just temporarily broken, it is actually breaking. All right. Now, given the height of the price flow for silver, I think came out to, do we still have the chart? Yes, we do. The height was 93.66, and then all of a sudden there was some convenient pushes to try to drive the price back down. Now, what a lot of people don't know is currently at the sovereign level, the Chinese government and the Indian government are both offering a floating premium of $10 to $20 USD per ounce over spot. That alone breaks the market. All right. And other major companies are doing this as well. Samsung, especially, is doing this in order to ensure that they have supply. They don't even care if it's refined, they will buy silver as ore. We're at no fucks given when it comes to getting silver supply. All right, now one of the things that I immediately worried about was, what about all of the smaller companies that use silver? How are they going to be able to get supply? Like, you think EV producers, obviously, they're at risk, but you also have to think about solar panel production. Solar panel production also uses silver. Now, of course, there's military uses for silver and, of course, the financial part. This is the ultimate convergence of demand pressure that we have seen in silver for a long time. And you have to keep in mind, this is after the longest period of history, in history, of banks artificially suppressing silver prices. Everybody knows, or at least you should know, that for the longest time, people were out there like, oh my God, shiny things. Oh, why would you waste your money on the shinies? And it's just like, this is why. This is why, right here, right now. Because for over a decade, JP Morgan Chase and a bunch of other banks went out and they artificially suppressed the silver prices. All right. They artificially suppress the silver prices. They start writing out contracts for silver they don't have. And of course, the deal is with COMEX and a lot of these other exchanges is, if they can't, you could stand for delivery, but if they don't have the material, if they don't have the commodity and they can't ship it to you, they have the right to pay you out in cash, which of course is infinitely inflated. All right. The risk in the silver market is exploding. All right. Obviously, of course, the dealers themselves, they don't necessarily have enough on hand. All right. They've burnt through whatever they have on hand, the majority of what they have on hand, and it's continuing. This trend is not going to stop. at least in my random opinion, it's not going to stop. It's not exactly random, but I am a fan of silver. And of course, this is all product of personal opinion, not financial investing advice of any kind. Anyway, so we have a sovereign back. We have a sovereign backed put on silver to get that supply in. All right, we've got the fact that the Chinese government has effectively licensed silver to stop it from leaving. China has 70% of the silver production, from what I remember. So we're in a bad spot here. We know that COMEX is they have what, 1 billion? I believe the number was 1 billion paper ounces. They have nowhere near a billion ounces of silver on hand. All right. All of these are just going to end up getting cashed out. And why the hell do we have demand so high? Obviously, all these banks conveniently, whilst the prices were suppressed and everybody was bashing precious metals, banks like JP Morgan were going out and just sucking the market dry. JP Morgan Chase has a massive silver stash. All right. Probably have a massive gold stash as well. A bunch of the other banks probably do too. We know definitely on the sovereign level, they are all buying gold. The central banks are all buying gold. Everybody is preparing themselves for what the inevitable is. And I think we all know what that inevitability is. Anyway, demand is massive, industrial need is high. All right, the fact that you've got major companies, you've got major corporations like Samsung and the others out there matching sovereign puts to get that price up, to ensure that supply. Like, why the hell would you sell? All right, why the hell would you sell silver for 91.5 when you can sell it to Samsung, India, or China? It doesn't even have to be a refined ounce. You can literally sell them rocks, all right, and effectively get what, 110 or yeah, brain damage. God damn it, why can't I do math right now? 101.50 or 111.50 right now by selling to the Eastern blocks. All right. Eastern blocks, East Asian blocks, whatever. They've broken the market. That's the reality. Whatever is left on COMEX or any of the others, LBMA, all of this is going to shift its way to whoever's paying the most. The actual physical is disappearing. All right. It's going to the highest bidder. And honestly, right now, if you want it to get into silver, if there is any more pressure, and there's going to be more pressure. This price volatility, this isn't going to turn around. These prices are going to keep going. They're going to keep going. If there's any more volatility, the only way to be able to get silver, if you don't have any already, is to know somebody, all right, and try to buy some off of them, or like we're getting into shady backroom deals territory. All right. If you absolutely want to have some silver for the great inflation trade, pawn shops, oh God, pawn shops, junk stores where there might be sterling, all right, just anything. Coin shops if they still have any product on hand. It's drying up quick. It's drying up quick. This story came out as well, not really too focused on it, but the Mint is stopping numismatics because they have no idea what the hell to price it at. All right, because the prices just are continually shifting. And again, decent chance that these continue to go higher. That silver as a whole is just going to keep running. Oh, God. trying to remember. Did I forget anything else outside of this? Now this is not the original. Let me think for a second. Okay, covered J.P. Morgan, the banks manipulating, prices going up, shortages, things not getting shipped out. Um, mm, I think that covers the bulk. We have to talk about the investment side. So why the hell is there all this demand all of a sudden? You also have the fact that the banks now that a lot of the banks have, of course, sucked up the silver, sucked up the gold. A lot of the major banks, all of a sudden, with the weight of the inflation trade, because we've had roughly 10% ish plus inflation in this country for half a decade now. All right, if I go through here, give me just a second. 2020, 8%, 21 was 12.4, 22 was 16.1, 23 was 11.9, 24 was 10.7, 25, the estimate was 10.5. I did not update these, but it probably came in around 10.7, 8, 9, if not higher. Trump is absolutely hell-bent on getting the interest rates down and trying to not only do that, but he's buying up mortgages and trying to do everything to get essentially bail out the housing market and try to push more life into it because the housing market's got nowhere to go but down. All right, unless something comes along to save it, like a 50-year mortgage, however ridiculous it is. He's got to grasp at straws to try to keep housing from collapsing. All right. Yeah, but when it comes to the investment, now given gold is not going to run into this for a while, as most of it is sovereign demand and oh god, what was it? And the central banks. But silver, on the other hand, silver market's going to fail. All right, I'm willing to throw it out there that the silver market's probably going to fail at this rate, especially because the sovereign push is probably going to increase. All right, instead of a $10 to $20 premium to sell to India or China or Samsung, you are probably going to see that jump to 30, 40, 50, 60, 70, 80, 90. They'll end up paying double what the official market spot rate is just to get some. All right. This is not going to change. This is soon enough, it's going to become a panic. Anyway, a lot of the demand, a certain amount of the demand is all of these major banks, especially in JP Morgan's case. JP Morgan, with their silver hoard, now has the ability to, of course, with the inflation trade, all of the boomers are being pushed to get into precious metals to protect themselves from the inflation because there is no end in sight. Government spending is going to increase. We are going to get to the point, even with the cuts in fraud and abuse, things are going to spin around. All right. Even with Trump going through and trying to root out the welfare fraud, the state level fraud rings, even with all of that, the reality is the government's a massive part of national GDPs. If the government stops spending, all right, in one form or another, if they honestly cut back and don't immediately refill that void with higher spending in other areas, they'll blow up their national economies. All right, because it's all paper at this point. Trying to get any kind of physical, and this is a massive push happening from investors, from companies, from everything. Everybody and everything is locked in on the inflation trade, and they are trying to throw as much worthless paper money at real assets, real commodities, real things. They're trying to offload cash. And like this is where we get into hyperinflation territory. They are getting to the point where they're throwing money at anything to try to buy up everything they possibly can before the dollar goes to zero. All right, which it's already effectively there. It's got like 1/1000th of a cent of its original purchasing power left at best, using the legit numbers, not the we adjusted them to fuck over Social Security recipients and welfare recipients numbers. Use the actual numbers, the actual calculations from like shadow stats from the way they used to do it in the 80s before they made the switch. This country is fucked. All right, there's no getting around it. Anyway, a lot of demand from the investment crowd, given a good chunk of the split. The banks are telling all of the boomers, if they're staying in, that they should go into precious metals and, less bonds, less stocks, get into precious metals. So now there's all of this extra demand with the increasing sovereign demand, with the increased military need, with the increased need to get silver to fuel the AI bubble / revolution. And then you've got all of these old timers coming in trying to buy up silver left and right. The banks naturally will push the boomers towards gold. Gold is what? I think it moved up 3%. Shit, where was that chart? There we go. So going off, 3%. A 3% swing, it's not too much. It's not too much. Will gold go higher? Probably. Probably. All of them will. This is the reality. We're moving into, as we get closer and closer to the hyperinflation, the crack up boom, quote unquote, as we get closer to it, the pressure is going to grow. If you have physical anything, you're going to be making the rules. You're going to have the buying power. If you have paper, increasingly, you're fucked. You're shit out of luck. All right? Because once again, you can go to Comex, you can go to the markets, and they'll show you 91.49. They're not going to show you what the real price is to actually get physical, which is increasingly becoming 100, 110, 120, because you have sovereign puts, because you have corporations going out and trying to buy raw ore now. Okay. Anyway, we'll go to the APMEX statement and we'll close this video up. All right. January 14th, 2026. Dear valued customer, the past 2 weeks, historic moment. All right, I'll do the full thing. Just put it on 2x to get it over with. 2x speed. January 14, 2026. Dear valued customer, past 2 weeks have been marked by a historic moment in the precious metals market. Both gold and silver have reached record highs multiple times, driven by a convergence of global uncertainty, inflation concerns, and renewed interest in hard assets. With these price movements has come a surge in demand, one unlike anything we've seen in years, as new customers enter the market and seasoned investors act decisively to adjust their positions. This level of demand brings real challenges across the entire industry. Supply is tight, order volumes are elevated, and service channels are under pressure. Way more than just under pressure. Many firms are struggling to keep pace. In moments like these, the difference between providers becomes clear. You all seem to be struggling. Anyway, I want to personally assure you that APMEX was built for environments like this. Evidently not. Our scale, long-standing supplier relationships, and operational investments allow us to continue offering the depth of inventory, product quality, and reliability our customers expect, even when market conditions are strained. Again, you wouldn't have to put out this statement if things were going okay. While no organization is immune to the realities of unprecedented demand, we are ideally positioned to navigate it effectively. Why are orders backing up then? This isn't just me beating up on APMEX. This is me backing up. This is me beating up on AppMax, JM Bullion, any of, especially the ones that were advertising on YouTube channels consistently. If you guys were built to handle this, why in the hell can't you get supply from your suppliers, and why the hell is your inventory reaching zero? Hey. Our teams across fulfillment, sales, customer service, minting, and operations are working extended hours and expanding capacity wherever possible to keep orders moving and to support our customers. From what I've heard, they're going back like it's 2 year, good God, like 2 week back orders. All right, and that's the thing. Honestly, they don't want to call it back ordering, but it's what it is. It's back ordering for supply that you can't guarantee that your suppliers will actually have. We are doing this with the same commitment to accuracy, security, and service that has defined AppMex for more than 25 years. Additionally, we have taken the following actions to address volume and corresponding capacity concerns. When you place an order, you'll see an estimated ship date that reflects our current ability to ship. Typically, we add 1 business day, but due to volumes, we're now adding 4 until further notice. We were about to lower the additional days until the increased surge in demand this week. Bullet point 2. Our minting teams have narrowed the production assortment we are focused on to get core products in stock. We have identified 31 core production silver products and currently have 21 of these in stock, up from a sub 15 a few days ago. We expect to have the majority in stock by this weekend unless demand increases further. Focus on that. We expect to have the majority in stock by this weekend unless demand increases further. What happens if demand increases further? I have no idea. Additionally, we have turned the majority off. We've turned the majority off pre-sales until we feel we can ship the product within 2 weeks. Finally, on sales/customer service, we have increased headcount by 25%, leveraging talent across the organization. We recognize that delays, longer hold times, or limited availability can be frustrating, particularly in fast-moving markets. Your patience during this extraordinary period is greatly appreciated, and it is not taken for granted. Please know that every decision we make is guided by long-term commitment to earning and keeping your trust. Thank you for choosing AppMex as your precious metals partner. We value your business and look forward to continuing to serve you today and for the long term. Ken Lewis, CEO, AppMex. Now, this is the updated version. It was slightly longer. The original version, or at least the last version that I saw, had the additional bullet point of original bullet point 3. On the retail purchasing side, we are currently 4 days behind in receiving your orders. We have instituted a $10,000 minimum to help keep volumes down and improve service levels. Now, some people might hear $10,000 minimum and think, oh God, good God, why? What? And it's like, honestly, look at it for what it is. $10,000 isn't shit. They have to put a $10,000 minimum. Now, given they may have effectively taken that back, but $10,000 minimum is striking for 2 reasons. One, $10,000 sounds like a lot to normal people, but $10,000 is nothing. Just like $50,000 is nothing. This is why wage pressures are continuing to grow and why the overall inflation situation is getting worse. All right. And expect that with all of the different groups, sovereigns, everybody all trying to get real things now. all right, that the pressure and the inflation is going to get worse. All right, it's going to get worse. These prices are going to continue to go up whilst there are dollars to chase them. All right, and there's no shortage of dollars chasing product right now. But $10,000 mandating effectively 100 ounces of silver. That's nothing. 100 ounces of silver is nothing. All right. It seems almost ridiculous to put the cap in place because what are people doing? They're buying 1 ounce of silver at a time. Yeah, some people might be doing that. Some people might be doing that. But legitimately, when you have to put in a price cap, all right, when you have, or an order cap, an order minimum, when you have to start doing order minimums, that just goes to show just how sketchy and wobbly the market is. All right, this is not, we can't get an ounce here or there necessarily. This is, we need people, if they're going to be ordering, we need you to put in big orders so we can try to get as much from the suppliers as possible to hopefully, because nobody's selling 1 or 2 coins at a time. All right, the suppliers are selling large amounts and they are largely running out. All right, so whoever has the biggest order, like on the back end, whoever has the biggest order is likely going to get their shipment from the suppliers. If you have a smaller order, you might end up waiting a while or it may never come at all. All right. The pressure on the silver market is not going to stop. All right. It's just going to get worse. It's just going to get worse. Although I will say this. I don't know if I said it in this version yet, but do not buy 1 ounce copper bars. Copper's like $3 to $5 a pound. All right, if you want to get copper, don't waste your time with that dumb shit. Literally buy the copper pounds. All right, and just put it somewhere. Ideally, seal it up, encase it in something so it doesn't all oxidize. Is ideally you want bright copper, nice, bright, shiny copper. You don't want it to, slowly rot away from oxidation. Also, for the record, I don't use Reddit often because Reddit is Reddit. Need I say more? But, silver era. Almost lost all my money trading silver today. Panic sold. Oh, good God. Why? Why? Oh, only crypto is more volatile. Welcome to the Thunderdome. Yeah. If you do not have silver and you want to get into it, unless you know somebody, all right, you either have to know somebody, you have to go to a coin dealer that still has it. You could try secondhand stores, pawn shops, junk stores, and try to find old sterling silver, whether it's candle holders, flatware, junk, whatever. That is one way to get a hold of it. But outside of that, the silver market's breaking. Like this is breaking. This is not going to stop. The fact that you've got sovereign support behind it, this is not going to stop. The sovereign governments are going to push. The Chinese government is going to try to suck silver out of Western markets. The Indian government is going to suck silver out of the markets. Samsung is going to, sure as shit, match what they're doing in order to ensure they have supply. Any company that relies on silver at all is going to have to do the same. and prices are going to go nuclear as a result. Solar panels are going to become more expensive, EVs are going to become more expensive. A lot of the green energy is going to be more expensive, and that breaks any value to it. All right. The overall situation is heating up. All right. I'll end it on there. I'll end it on that. Um, you guys have a good one, and I will see you next time.